This is the layout of a stand where a real PCEF works with a real DPI. On the left, the machine with the core network. The PGW opens and closes the subscriber session over radius. The PCRF supplies service rules over GX. The OCS supplies credit and quotas over GY. Here they are emulators, but they interact over standard interfaces, exactly as real nodes do. In the middle, a real PCEF. It turns core network policy into services on the DPI. Two channels connect them. Over the first, the PCEF creates the session, changes the set of services and sets accounting thresholds. Over the second, the DPI reports usage for every rating group. On the right, a separate machine with a real DPI. It sits in the data path and works on real network interfaces. Subscriber traffic comes in on one side and leaves on the other, and in between the DPI marks it, limits it, and counts it. The counter of the egress interface gives a figure independent of the DPI itself. Next to it, FDPI CLI, the DPI management console. It shows the subscriber state, the assigned services, and the rating group counters. The console is the same stand, but at hand. On the left, in the console panel, I will play the core network, attach the subscriber, change his QoS profile, grant and cut his quota. The controls are split by area of responsibility. What goes over GX, what goes over GY, and what the stand itself does. On the right you see the result. The actual rate on the network interface at the DPI egress, the log of the exchange over every interface, and the volumes for the session. I attach the subscriber. For the network, this is a radius accounting start from the gateway. From here, everything runs on its own. The PCEF asks the PCRF for the rules, 2 rating groups, all traffic and YouTube. It asks the OCS for credit and gets a quota for each group. And only after that it creates the session on the DPI. The initial accounting thresholds go along with it. The subscriber is attached. Both services are running. At the top is the limit in force right now. 20 megabits for all traffic and 3 for YouTube. The terms of the sum are the rating groups. I offer 30 megabits of the main traffic and 8 megabits of YouTube. The tabs above are the rating groups. Everything below belongs to the selected one, and each has its own color, the same one as in the volumes table. 38 offered, 24 at the egress, 20.8 on the main traffic, and 3.1 on YouTube. Each service is held to its own limit separately. That is policing on the DPI. Not one shaper for the subscriber, but a limit per service. One detail worth noting: the core network does not tell the DPI what this traffic is. It passes a rule: whatever belongs to YouTube goes to the second group, and the DPI identifies the protocol itself, from the content of the flow, and splits the traffic between the groups with no hint from outside. I change the QoS profile of the main service from 20 megabits to 5. For the network, this is a GXRAR from the PCRF, an ordinary change of rules on the fly. The egress is now 5.2 on the main service and 3.1 on YouTube. The session is not recreated. The PCEF sends the DPI a new set of services, and before the change the DPI reports on the profiles being unloaded. Here is the report with the accumulated volumes. This shows a property of the accounting. The counters on the DPI belong to the set of profiles, not to the rating group. Change the profile of one service and the counters start over for all of them, which is why the accumulated volume comes in that report. The table shows nothing was lost over the session. The 20 megabit profile has its own total. The 5 megabit one has its own. Now about accounting. I give YouTube a small quota, for megabytes. Here is the cycle. The PCEF sets the DPI a threshold at the whole granted quota. As soon as the subscriber has used it up, the DPI reports that. The PCEF reports to the OCS exactly what was spent and receives the next quota, and the threshold moves on. The subscriber notices nothing. The traffic runs without a break. Now let the subscriber run out of money for YouTube. I cut the quota. YouTube has stopped. The OCS granted the last remainder as final, and once it is spent the DPI stops passing traffic of that group. The main service keeps working. The limit field now reads 5 plus 0. One service is blocked, the other is alive. Both accounting and blocking work per group, not per subscriber. I grant the quota back. For the network this is a GYRAR, an ordinary top-up or an add-on being switched on. YouTube runs again. And all this time the volumes agree. On the left the total from the DPI reports. On the right the counter of the egress interface. 2 independent figures, and they differ by a few percent, about 3 in this run. The difference comes from frame headers, which the interface counts and the rating group does not, from traffic outside the rules, and from the reporting lag. What matters? Only what the DPI passed is accounted for. The subscriber pays for what he received only. I detach the subscriber. For the network, this is a radius accounting stop. The PCEF closes the session on the DPI. The DPI hands over a final report with the closing volumes, and on those figures the PCEF sends its terminating requests to the OCS and the PCRF. Nothing is lost on closing. Whatever the subscriber spent after the last report goes to billing with it. To sum up, PCEF and DPI fit into a standard mobile core exactly as it is. Rules arrive over GX, credit over GY, the session begins and ends over radius. To the core network, the subscriber stays a single session, while inside it every service has its own rate limit, its own quota and its own accounting. And all of that changes on the fly, with no session drop and nothing asked of the subscriber.